Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in to the Bridge the Gap Outreach Ministry of your host, James J.R. Edwards, entitled The Good News Broadcast. Prepare yourselves to be uplifted, empowered, and strengthened holistically through this ministry. It's my honor and privilege to present to you The Bridge, James J.R. Edwards.
Let's bridge the gap.
It's my honor and privilege, as we're talking about timing and everything. I have a young lady in the studio by the name of Miss Stephanie Motely. She is an author. She is the CEO of a company. Well, she calls her ministry is More Than a Statistic. And she's an author of a book that's called The Journey of a Teenage Mother. And right now, I'm going to get her to say a few words and give us a little greeting here. How you doing, Miss Stephanie?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am doing well. Look, real quick, give our listening audience that's listening to us by internet and by radio, just give them an introduction of who you are.
Okay. My name is Stephanie Motely. I am 24 years old. I was born and raised in Chatham. Okay. Recently, mostly live in Danville now. I go to Smith Chapel Baptist Church, where the pastor is Pastor Jermaine Parker. I am working full-time at Atiba Youth Interventions, where I'm a human resource manager there. I've had More Than a Statistic for 2 years now. Okay. It is my passion. I formed it because I want to be a support system to other single teen mothers. For many know that I have a daughter, she's 6 now, Samaya Royal, where I was pregnant at the age of 16. But because I had my family and dedicated friends, I didn't have some of the same struggles as other single teen mothers have. So I want to be able to be that support with some other ladies that has, joined on the team with me, to be there for them. And becoming the author with The Journey of a Teenage Mother was just a blessing from God. The lady found me on Facebook, LaShonda Leslie Smith, and it's me and 13 other ladies that share our story in the book.
Okay, great. Now, Ben, I'm talking about season and time. How did you know that you said that you started More Than a Statistic 2 years ago? How did you know? I think, actually, you guys, me and Stephanie had a conversation. I told her one time, it seems like sometimes you can ask people, well, how did you get where you are? How did you know? And the first thing people say, well, God did it. Now, I understand that God did it, but what did God give to you to lead you or prompt you to go and to be where you are? So I'm going to ask you, Stephanie, over the air, what was it that prompted you again to start this ministry 2 years ago?
For me, it was, I couldn't find fulfillment anywhere else. It was the dreams that I was having at night. It was the praying and people saying, it was God. But for me, it was the different things that God kept showing me, that this is what you need to do. I need you to do this, because there were some things that I was praying for that I wanted. Mm-hmm. But God was like, can you do this for me first? This is what I need you to do. So it was basically that I knew it was time, because I had the vision. I had the vision of doing this, but I didn't know how. I didn't know where to start. I didn't, but it was like God was connecting me with the people that I needed. So I knew then it was time, because they said, I hear all the time, God will never tell you to do something that He doesn't equip you to do.
Right.
And at that time, all the equipment was there. And even though it's like, not technology or whatever, like the computer, whatever, but the equipment is meaning people to teach me how to, start a nonprofit and stuff like that. So to me, it was like, I would go to work every day, get the paycheck or whatever, but I was still like, there's more to life than this. There's something else that I'm supposed to be doing. And I knew this was the time to do it, because I felt like it was either do or die. Mm-hmm. That's how I felt. Wow. So that was my thought or opinion or reason to make me launch out.
Right. Okay, I understand that. Yeah, because I was sitting there, something that kind of jogged my mind when you say as far as that timing and you having people there. I noticed that sometimes, how did you kind of like refrain from allowing people to make you go before your time? Sometimes people, sometimes there are a lot of people, if we be honest, that are driven by titles. They are driven by, sometimes, well, Stephanie, if you come over here, you could be XYZ, or, you know, because I've had that, and you know, I've had pastors and I have people that have said, you know, as far as about me playing and stuff, you know, if you come over here, and some of them can recognize, some people can recognize certain gifts and talents within us that sometimes we don't see. And I relate that back to the Bible. I could, in Genesis, if you notice that Adam had been working in the garden the whole time, and the serpent was there, but it was not until Eve came that pointed out the serpent. So it's like sometimes people can see what you don't see that's already like there. Right. So how did you what kept you grounded from like really going, you know, maybe ahead of time, possibly?
I would have to say it's being connected to people that were already in ministry or already doing it, and seeing the behind the scenes, the warfare, the stuff like that. And I wasn't, at that time, I knew I wasn't ready for that.
Right.
You know, I've been in church all my life. I sing, you know, praise and worship, but my life behind the scenes at the time before now was not where it should have been. It was like a public success but a private failure. And so I knew that I couldn't risk having that failure to become public. Even though what some people say is a failure, as me getting pregnant young, became kind of my success as far as more than a statistic in the book. But I knew when you are raised up on a pedestal, because people put people with titles on a pedestal, even though they're human, even though they still have their name, when they get the title, people put them on a pedestal, and I knew that failure is like none other. Right. So it was like knowing that, it's like, you know, I'll wait. And even though still that I knew it was time for me to launch out, it's still, I had to convince myself that, you know, you can do this, because the fear was still there. You know, the thought of failing, still there. And even now that it's launched, you know, you still have to keep going. So it's still the thoughts of, you know, trying to stay grounded, still staying in your lane. And it's something that my sister said Saturday when she was preaching, that God kept saying to her at one point in time, places, everyone, places, and stay in your place. And we have to stay in our own lane. And we can't look at what other people, how successful their business is and stuff, how they're moving, because you don't know what they had to suffer and go through before they got there. So it's basic for me, being patient as far as launching out, is watching others that had done it before me to see what they had to go through to make sure, you know, this is really the time. Right.
Yeah, I agree with that, because sometimes I think I had an excerpt that says, you know, don't you move ahead. Don't allow what you see other people's and the advancement of other people's make you operate faster than what God really wants you to. And I noticed some time ago, I'm you saying so much, and it seems like your testimony kind of like parallels with some stuff that I've had to endure. And one thing I can say, and I've adopted that my pastor told me, he said, you will see that the strength of your ministry will come out of the pains of your past.
Right, yes.
And a lot of people don't recognize that. And I said, like now, a car needs the negative and the positives to crank. If everything in your life is positive, then, you know, you might need to reevaluate that, you know, because, again, I believe that the certain things are going to come out of the pains of your past. And I look at it, like for me, it's been 13 years since I initially got the call of God upon my life. 13 years, and right now, that was back in 2001, God told me about bridging the gap. And but he did not tell me that 13 years later, I would have a gap that needed bridging. And sometimes I hope somebody that's listening right now, I believe that you've been empowered right now through this conversation. And I wanted to tell you that sometimes your ministry will be birthed out of you being ministered to. And I went deaf, just anything, a birth of a child, because when you, like she said, when you're in position, sometimes people hold you, well, they do. And I believe that you should, if you're in a position, you should be held accountable for what you do and what we do. We should be. And I often tell people that if you think about it in the bank, a CEO is not going to get the same pay as a teller. So again, you should not lower your standards. An eagle should not come down to fly with the buzzards. Because when you look at it, and that's why I like that of an eagle will use the storm, the strength of the storm, to rise above it. Whereas some people, they look at it, and if they see a storm, they're going to run from it. But an eagle flies in the midst of it. And so that's good. So about more than a statistic.
Mm-hmm.
You said there's some other ones that kind of help you, and it's basically geared to teenage mothers.
Yes. Initially.
Oh, what y'all trying? Why y'all leave the brothers out?
No. I have a program that I have in the pamphlet that I want to start. It's called Let's Work Together.
Okay.
And that's what I'm trying to do is co-parenting. You know, we have a lot of times that the, you know, mother and the father, they go their separate ways. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to make it where, okay, even though you might not be in a relationship anymore, or you don't want to date this person, but you have this child in the middle. Mm-hmm. And we have to provide stable environments. That's why we have the kids acting out in school. That's
right.
You know, that's why we have the ones getting locked up and all this stuff like that, because they don't have a stable environment at home. And so you have to put all that, you know, your feelings, your hurt, all that to the side and say, okay, what do we need to do to raise this child the way it needs to be raised? So I'm trying to include the brothers.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, but that's good, because a part of mine with the Bridge the Gap is sometimes, and you have to agree to disagree.
Exactly.
And when a child, and I often tell people, just because you have a child by an individual does not mean that you guys have to be together as a couple.
Right.
And I know sometimes females do. Well, I ain't gonna say females do. I say sometimes I say females are more emotional beings than sometimes male, in the sense of displaying it. But I only have about 2 minutes, so Steph, I know we're gonna have to do a part 2. I come on next week. I do know that. But I want to give I know we got about 2 minutes. But I want to give a book, one of your books, to one of our listeners.
Yes.
I thought I was gonna have a question right now. Here we go. I'm gonna just off the top, because I said something earlier. If someone can call in and tell me what is the difference between Kairos and Chronos, you will win a free copy of The Journey of a Teenage Woman. Teenage mother, I'm sorry. But if you can call in, the numbers are 434-797-1266 or 434-797-2265. The phone lines are open. You can call in. If you can tell me what's the difference between Kairos and Chronos, you will win a copy of The Journey of a Teenage Mother. It is a great read. It's something that you need to add into your to your library. All right, the number is 797-1266 or 797-2265. Look, we're going to be here for a few minutes if you want to call in. If not, George, you can go ahead and play the spot. Just call my phone, and we will be back next week. Stephanie, can you come back? In the words of the Terminator, she'll be back. All right, y'all have a great day, and remember, don't allow things to happen.
Brothers and sisters, you've just been listening to the Bridge the Gap Outreach Ministry of James J.R. Edwards, entitled The Good News Broadcast. Tune in every first and fourth Tuesday of each month on this radio station. Also visit them on the web and correspond with your host at www.bridgethegapjae.com. That's www.bridgethegapjae.com. Or feel free to call 612-888-BTJG. That's 612-888-2845. Until next time, don't allow the pains of your past to punish your present and paralyze your future. No matter what happens to you, keep pushing and pressing.